A person in a tan hat and ranger-style uniform stands on a small stage holding a microphone, facing an audience seated in front of them. A large dark banner with white text listing various government departments hangs behind the stage.
This is our performance, our stage, our storytelling. This is the good tent, really. Now, this is a tent that travels with the Core Discovery 2. We're a traveling exhibit, traveling the entire Lewis and Clark Trail. And we've been doing so for 3 years now, and we still have 1 year left to go. Now, inside the Tent of Many Voices, we invite in a lot of different presenters, different backgrounds, different things to share and tell all of us while we're out here in the Tent of Many Voices. So today, I'll stop talking and I'll turn it over to our real presenter for this morning. I'd like to introduce Mr. Solo Green. He is the education specialist for the Nez Perce tribe, and he's going to be sharing about yesterday, today, and tomorrow, a little bit of their cultural history. Please welcome Mr. Green.
A wooden podium stands on a small stage with a water bottle and blue-rimmed plate visible on top. A dark blue banner with a feather design and partial text reading USF and Depart hangs in the foreground. Indoor architectural elements are visible in the background.
All right, thank you. It's an honor and privilege to be here this morning, and it's good to see everybody. I'd want to ask you guys first if you would want me here or up there so you could see me better. It's your choice. I wanted to leave it up to you guys. You guys want me up there? All right.
A person stands at a wooden podium on a small stage, wearing a light pink shirt and a beaded vest with red and geometric patterns. Behind them is a large screen displaying an image of a spacecraft or vehicle.
All right, is that better? All right. First of all, I just want to kind of take you back to part of our history before Lewis and Clark, how things were prior to the arrival of Lewis and Clark and the settlers, not only to this area, but to the United States. Because as you all know, we read in textbooks and things like that Columbus discovered America. And hopefully, we're starting to overcome the barriers and a misperception of our history that's been written. So as you all know, when Columbus came to the United States, he found native people here. And as more and more people start coming to the United States, our people were pushed over towards the west more and more and more and more. But prior to Lewis and Clark, and even before the settlers start coming here, native people are spiritual people. I need to let you guys know that right now. Native people are spiritual people. We're not religious people, we're spiritual people. What I mean by that is, we have a place down by Lapway. Do you guys know where Lapway's at? Some of you? All right. A lot of the students you're from Clearwater Valley, is that correct? All right, it's good to see you guys here. Hopefully someday, this year, hopefully I'll be able to come to your school and present to your school as an individual, even classes or at pep assembly or what it is. But there's a place down in Lapway called Thunder Hill. And one thing I want...
A person wearing a white dress shirt and a red and tan geometric patterned vest stands against a plain gray background, looking slightly to the side.
I need to clarify is, there's a difference between spiritual and religious people. Spiritual people are people that rely on a creator, a great spirit, a Haniwa, as Nez Perce people call it. And religion is more ceremonies, specific ways to do specific things. But prior to the arrival of settlers and non-native people to this country, we had people within our tribe, the Nez Perce tribe, and also people from other tribes. There was a prophetic person in every band, every village, and every tribe. I need to make that clear. There was a prophetic person. And what a prophetic person is a person, he was a spiritual person, that would fast and he would pray. So he'd go on for the Nez Perce, or Nimi'ipuu as we're called. This guy, his name was Thunder Eyes. He'd go to Thunder.
A person wearing a white dress shirt and a geometric patterned vest with red and tan colors stands against a gray wall with a partial view of a flag on the right side. They appear to be speaking or pausing mid-presentation.
And he'd stay up there and he'd fast and he'd pray. There's two important visions that he saw. One of the visions that he saw was pale-skinned people, but they had upside-down heads. And he didn't really know what that meant, and he shared it with their people. You think about that. Pale-skinned people with upside-down heads. Now you look at some of our non-native people, some of your grandpas maybe, some of the older people, where a lot of times they start losing their hair on top of their head, right? But they still have their mustache, they still have their beards. So that's what he saw. He saw non-native people with pale skin, but their heads looked like they're upside down. But it really wasn't upside down. What it was their beards were down here, and they didn't have any hair on top. So
a person in a white shirt with a beaded vest stands against a plain background, raising one arm while speaking. They wear a microphone and have a serious expression.
They thought their head was upside down, but really it was just regular people, but they had lighter skin. And one thing I want to kind of make sure that we're on the same page today is it shouldn't matter what color we are. We're human beings. We're people. For me, I'm proud to be a Nez Perce. I'm proud to be a Nimi'ipuu. And you should be proud of who you are, where you came from, and what you're doing. So I want to make that clear today that our color doesn't mean anything. It's just pigment in our skin. It's just melanin in our skin that makes us dark or makes us light. And it shouldn't matter what color we are. We're all human beings. That's the most important thing that we're going to get out of it, is we're all human. We come from different places. We do different things. And that's all right. It's okay to be different. But the other dream that he had was about a deer. He had a dream about a deer, but it was bigger than a deer, and it had spots.
A person wearing a white shirt and a beaded vest with geometric patterns in red, yellow, and cream colors stands before a microphone in a studio setting, mouth open as if speaking.
And he didn't know what that meant. Did some of you know what that was? It was a horse. It was an Appaloosa. So this guy, Thunder Eyes, he went up to this place on Thunder Hill, and he had this vision prior to the settlers and non-native people coming here, and prior to the Appaloosa coming to the Nez Perce. But as time goes, as history goes, like I said, more and more settlers, they start coming to this area. They start coming west. And then, so they started this with Lewis and Clark and the discovery. They start coming back this way to check out the land, to see what was going on in the west. Because past the Bitterroot was a place that they never have gone before. So they start their journey, and I'm sure you heard a lot of stories and a lot of the history already, but I'm going to say it more from the cultural perspective. A lot of times in the books that we read, the stories that we read, it talks about Native Americans in the past tense. It talks about Native Americans as they were, or Native Americans was. But one thing I want you guys to be aware of today, and I know you guys know that the Nez Perce, the Nimi'ipuu, and Native Americans are still here today. The other thing that books talk about a lot are that Native Americans are savages. They're warriors, they're murderers, they're killers.
A person wearing a white shirt and a striped vest with geometric patterns and metals stands against a plain gray background, appearing to speak.
And all that other kind of stuff. But to tell you the truth, it was actually the opposite of that. A prime example is when Lewis and Clark met up with three young Nez Perce or Nimi'ipuu boys up by Pierce area. when they came and they met Twisted Hair and his band at Pierce in the Nimi'ipuu area. See, the Nez Perce people, they didn't know what to think. They didn't know what to do because they've heard of it. They've heard of the non-native people, the settlers coming to this area.
A person wearing a white button-up shirt and a geometric patterned vest with red and orange stripes stands with eyes closed at a microphone. They appear to be in a studio or indoor recording setting.
Then when it actually happened, they didn't know what to do. They noticed they had a young native woman with them. And you guys know who that is, right? Sacagawea was with them. But you know what? We hear a lot of stories about Sacagawea, how great she was and the things that she's done. But one of the things that we need to clarify today is that when the Nez Perce and Lewis and Clark met up on that prairie, the Nez Perce weren't.
A person wearing a white button-up shirt and a striped woven vest with red, orange, and cream geometric pattern stands against a gray background, speaking with an animated expression.
Really sure what to do. Should they attack them? Should they kill them? Because Sacagawea was from a tribe that is a enemy tribe of the Nez Perce. But there's one person, a Nez Perce lady, who was taken by fur traders and other people in a different area. Actually, she was taken from a different tribe, the Blackfeet tribe. And the Blackfeet tribe took her and traded her to fur traders. She eventually made it back to the Nez.
A person in a white shirt and beaded vest stands in profile against a plain gray wall, looking downward. A colorful striped blanket or textile is visible on the right side of the frame.
Nez Perce tribe, after staying many years with the fur traders, she made it back to the Nez Perce, to this encampment. Her name was Waxcáus. I'm not sure if you guys heard of her before, but Waxcáus was the main one that helped save Lewis and Clark, that helped save Sacagawea and the other people. Because, like I said, the Nez Perce weren't really sure what to do with them. They didn't know if they're going to be enemies. They didn't know what to think of them because, really, after they made it through the Bitterroots, Lewis and Clark, they weren't really good-looking people. They weren't really muscular. They were skinny. They were pale. They didn't know what to think. But it was Waxcáus that told them, it's okay. They took good care of me. And so they listened to her. It was Twisted Hair's band. They listened to her and they said, okay. So they fed Lewis and Clark. They nurtured them. They provided for them. They even gave up their own beds to them. Now, if we're savages, if we're killers, if we're murderers, would something like that have happened? No, it wouldn't have happened. So we need to clarify and correct some of our history that's talked about the Nez Perce, about the Native Americans, about being killers, about being savages, and all those other negative words that are placed on our people. So one of the things I want you guys to remember is Waxcáus was one of the main ones that helped save Lewis and Clark. But the Nez Perce didn't only provide for them or nurture them. What they did is they showed them the way, because Lewis and Clark, they're going to the Pacific Ocean.
A person in profile wearing a white shirt with a colorful striped vest or jacket stands against a plain gray background, looking toward the left side of the frame.
And instead of just pointing in a direction, Twisted Hair and his band and his people, they showed him the way. They actually took him all the way down to the Columbia River and to Celilo Falls. So it's really important that we remember that the Nez Perce was really a big part of why they made it and how they made it to the Pacific Ocean. But during this time, one of the things that was shared with the Nez Perce was the good book. Do you guys know what the good book is? The Nez Perce referred to the good book as the Bible.
A person stands in profile against a plain gray background, wearing a white shirt with a colorful striped vest or jacket featuring red, yellow, and other colors. They are looking downward with a contemplative expression.
So Lewis and Clark had a Bible with them. They shared some of the words, some of the ways with the Nez Perce people. And old Chief Joseph and his band, some of the chiefs, they really liked it. But after Lewis and Clark left, they went to the Pacific Ocean. Then in 1806, they came back. The Nez Perce provided for them. They nurtured them. They helped them again, and they helped guide them in the right direction, back in the same direction they came from. Lewis and Clark, they went back to Louisiana where they came from. They went back to St. Louis. They made it back there. But that good book was still on the mind of Chief Joseph. Some of the Nez Perce people, it was interesting to them. In 1831, the Nez Perce, they sent 4 warriors back to St. Louis to find Lewis and Clark, to find the good book.
A person wearing a white shirt with a colorful beaded vest featuring geometric patterns in red, yellow, and blue sits before a microphone. A flag hangs in the background. Studio lighting and a camera are visible overhead.
So in 1831, those 4 warriors, they headed on their way back to St. Louis. 2 of them were killed on the way over. One of them was killed from sickness as they got there. The other one, Black Eagle, he made it back to the Salmon River, but he was killed at the Salmon River before he made it back here. But since they made it over there, the settlers, the people that Lewis and Clark were reporting to, they sent missionaries back here. 1835, there were missionaries right here on a Nez Perce reservation. But one thing that the Nez Perce noticed was that there was a difference between the missionaries and what was talked about in the Bible or the good book. The way they treated people was different. In the Bible,
a person wearing a white dress shirt and a geometric patterned vest with red, tan, and green colors stands with eyes closed against a plain gray wall. A white fabric drape is visible behind them.
You're supposed to respect all people, respect all things. Treat your neighbors as yourself, and we all know that part of it. But the missionaries, what they did to our native people, to the Nez Perce people, is that they whipped them if they spoke their own language. They couldn't dress their traditional ways. They couldn't practice their religious ceremonies. They couldn't go sweat. They couldn't do a lot of their cultural and traditional things. If they did, the missionaries would whip them. Down in Spalding, Idaho, there's a tree. It's called the whipping tree. Like if the Nez Perce, they spoke their own language, they'd be tied to that tree and they'd be whipped because they spoke their own language. But we think about some of these things that our people have gone through. What was good for the non-native people with Lewis and Clark coming this way, making it to the Pacific Ocean, making it all the way back there, was also a hindrance to our people. You look around here today, you see what we have. We have beautiful buildings, we have highways, we have beautiful cars, we have all this thing, all the material things that you could ever think of. We have technology, we have cell phones, we have computers, we have iPods, we have all those other kind of things. But it also took away from our Nez Perce people, our native people. One of the things that's really important to native people is the land. There's a quote from Tuhuhuzu. He's a great Nez Perce chief from the Dreamer faith. His quote was, "The earth is part of my body. I belong to the land out of which I came. She is my mother." You think about that. The earth is part of my body.
A person in profile wears a white long-sleeved shirt and a vest with green and orange striping. They stand against a plain gray background, looking toward the right side of the frame.
I belong to the land out of which I came. She is my mother. You think about Native Americans, you think about the Nez Perce, the Nimi'ipuu. We lived off the land. Back then we lived off the land. Today we still live off the land. We go hunting, we go fishing, we go dig roots and berries and medicines and things like that. So we're still gatherers. But our reservations have shrunk. We don't have the land that we used to have. We all heard about the wars, the 1855 Treaty Wars, the 1863 wars, gold being found on a Nez Perce reservation down by Orfino. So there's a lot of things that happened to our people, and there's a lot that was taken from our people, but we're still here today. There's things that are hindering our people that there never was in our lives before. Things like drugs, things like alcohol, domestic violence, teen pregnancy, all.
A person in profile wearing a white shirt with a red and gold geometric design on the chest and a black tie gestures with an open hand while speaking against a plain gray background.
All this other things that are hindering our people, and we're still battling it. But one thing I want to share with you guys before I end my presentation this morning is our people have survived the treaty wars. They survived the boarding schools, the forced religion. They survived the social services and BIA taking our children from our homes. They survived all these things. We're surviving drugs and alcohol, domestic violence. There's a transformation and a movement going on amongst our Native people today. And that's something we're proud of. We're changing our ways. We're starting to go back to our culture, our tradition. And we're not only survivors, but we're overcomers. Our people are overcoming.
A person wearing a white shirt and a beaded vest with geometric patterns in red, yellow, and black stands indoors against a gray wall with a white curtain visible behind them.
The things that have been placed on them. We may not look like it because we wear clothes, we drive cars, we live in houses and things like that, but we're still cultural and traditional people. And we're not only overcomers, we're conquerors. We're going to conquer drugs and alcohol. We're going to conquer domestic violence and those other things that hinder our people. But today, it's an honor and privilege for me to be here. I want to thank you guys for giving me this time. But before I end, I want to honor you because it's an honor and privilege for me to be here. And none of us in here are better than a person that's sitting next to us. I'm not better than any of you out there. We all have goals. We all have dreams. We all have visions. We have different gifts, different talents, different abilities. And you need to remember that. We're all equal, but we have different things that we're blessed with. But before we end today, I want to sing you an honor song from me to you. And I want each and every one of you to know that I love you. A lot of you don't hear it all the time, but I love you. I care about you. And I want to be here for you. One thing that I do, I travel throughout the United States. I give presentations about our culture, about our history, about who we are, because I want people to get the right history. I want to clarify the history that's been talked about us, because we're not bad people. We have different colors, we have different beliefs, but we're the same on the inside. Our heart should always be the same. We need to start looking at the heart, not at the outward appearance. But I'm going to sing this song for you. As I sing this song, I want you guys to close your eyes. Some of you in here aren't very old, but some of you in here remember the stories that your parents told you, the stories that your grandparents told you. Some of you are going to live to be old people, and that's going to be great, because some of you are going to pass on what you heard today. You're going to pass on that on to your children, to your grandchildren. Maybe you could educate your parents or your grandparents of what you heard today. But as I sing this, I want you guys to close your eyes. I want you to think about your life. Think about your parents, your grandparents. I also want you to think about where you're going and what you're doing in your life today, because you're going to make a difference in this world. Each and every one of you are going to make a difference. But I'm going to sing this song, and that's from me to you as my gift. So when I start singing, I would just want you to close your eyes and think about who you are, where you're going, and what you're doing.
A person wearing a white shirt and a beaded red and tan vest stands against a gray background, holding a large green and red circular object with a pointer, looking toward the camera.
Yeah.
And we like to
A person wearing a white shirt and beaded vest stands at a wooden podium with a circular seal. An American flag hangs in the background. The person is bowed in a moment of silence.
thank you very much for coming in today and sharing what you had to share with us. Did you guys have fun? You guys like that song at the end? Yeah. All right. Well, I got to split you up into a couple different groups. So, I'm going to call out some group numbers, and I want people to raise their hands when you hear your group number. First group numbers are 2 and 3. Where's 2 and 3 at? 2 and 3? Okay. 2 and 3, Ranger Erin in the back is waving her hands in the air, jumping up and down, trying to look tall.
A person speaks at a wooden podium bearing a circular seal with clasped hands. An American flag hangs to the right. A mountainous landscape image is visible in the background.
She's back there right now, and she will take you over to the traditional games area. Okay, you guys are going to stay seated. Now, how about group 4? Where's group 4 at? Group 4 is right here. Group 4, we're going to turn around and we're going to go, hey, Laura, really loud. 1, 2, 3. Hey, Laura! Laura right there, she's going to take group 4 over to the teepee over there. All right. Now, how about group 5? Group 5 is over here. All right, group 5, she doesn't know this yet, but group 5.
A person wearing a light-colored ranger hat and gray uniform shirt holds a microphone and speaks while looking downward. They have dark hair and a braid and a mustache. A blue background is visible behind them.
For 3 years. So we're having a lot of fun, actually. In here, in our 10 of Many Voices, we invite in a lot of different speakers, a lot of different presenters with different backgrounds, different knowledge, different ideas, different opinions on the Lewis and Clark expedition. And we do so in hopes to paint a really good picture for everyone else to get a good idea on what really went on those 200 years ago and what's going on today, 200 years later, in some of those same areas. So with all of that said, I'd like to introduce you to our next presenter, our next speaker. He is Mr. Solo Green. He is
a person wearing a gray shirt and white cowboy hat holds a microphone while pointing at a large photograph or image displayed on a screen behind them, appearing to present or discuss the visual content.
The education specialist from the Nez Perce, and he's going to be talking about yesterday, today, and tomorrow, some of the culture and the history behind his tribe. So please help me welcome Mr. Green.
Thank you. It's an honor and privilege to be here, to be able to present for you about a little bit about our culture, a little bit about our history, and who we are today. My understanding is that the students that are here today are from Clearwater Valley. Is that correct? And you're 6th, 7th, and 8th graders? Is that right? All right. I just need to make sure that we had the right group in here, but
a person wearing a white dress shirt and a geometric patterned vest with red, orange, and cream colors stands against a plain gray background, smiling with eyes closed.
Like I said, I'm blessed to be here today. I'm going to take you back prior to Lewis and Clark, of what life was like prior to Lewis and Clark. I just got done presenting to some younger students. But with the knowledge, with your background, I could go in a little bit more depth, in a little bit more detail, because you're older. And that's respectful to be older. Hopefully that's one thing that you guys are able to do to your upperclassmen, to your teachers, to your parents, is be respectful. One of the things that was taught and handed down from generation to generation to our people is to respect all people in all things. When you take something from the land, only take what you need and nothing more. So with that, I want to take you back prior to Lewis and Clark, prior to 1805, even before Columbus, or when Columbus arrived here on the United States in America. In our textbooks, in our history books and things like that, we always hear that Christopher Columbus discovered America. But hopefully we all know now that he didn't discover America because native people were already here. As more and more settlers start coming to this land, start coming to this great nation to this country, more and more of our native people were pushed west.
A person wearing a white shirt with a striped beaded vest speaks while standing indoors. A white fabric backdrop and camera equipment are visible behind them.
A lot of the tribes back on the East Coast, they're already put on reservations. We lost many tribes at that time because they were collaborated as one. And there were many different tribes. That's one thing I need to clarify today amongst the Nez Perce. A lot of people think Nez Perce were just one people that lived in one area. But the Nez Perce people, they lived in this area right here. They lived up by Clearwater Valley, by Kuski. They lived up there. They lived down by Riggins, by Whitebird, by the Salmon River, over by Wallowa Mountains, over by Tucannon in Washington, even by Lapway. So we had our tribe and our people, they were located throughout this Northwest. Prior to 1855, the Nez Perce roamed land that was about 14 million acres of land that the Nez Perce used to utilize as their own. That was prior to 1855. After 1863, our land was reduced from approximately 14 million to 7.5 million. Now our land is only about 750,000 acres. But prior to all of that information that I just shared with you, one of the things that our native people used to do, and the Nez Perce, the Nimi'ipuu people used to do, is they used to be spiritual people. They used to pray, they used to fast, to seek visions. Because back then, we didn't have computers. We didn't have satellites. We didn't have technology to tell us what the weather was going to be like. We didn't have these other different kind of things to let us know if a storm was coming in. See, now with technology today, you could watch a person, they could keep an eye on us today from Washington, D.C. with the technology they have today. But back in that time, when Lewis and Clark start traveling, when they start coming back west, they could only document things on paper. The places they went, the things they used to do. But prior to that, the Nez Perce, the native people, they used to seek a vision. Every tribe, every nation, every village, they had a prophetic person. A prophetic person is a spiritual person that would go fast, that would pray. He'd go in a secure place just for him. Sometimes he was on mountaintops. Sometimes he was away from everybody else, but he would fast and pray to get a vision. Down in Lapway, there's a place called Thunder Hill, a place where this guy named Thunder Eyes used to go pray and fast to get a vision for our tribe, for our village, for our nation. One of the things that he saw prior to Columbus, prior to Lewis and Clark, was he saw pale-skinned people. Pale-skinned people, non-native people, but their heads were upside down. He didn't know what that meant. He didn't know if they were ghosts. He didn't really understand it at that time. But a lot of you in here, you have grandpas, you have dads that don't have hair on their head. A lot of them, they still have their beards, they still have their mustaches. But at that time, that's what he saw. He saw pale-skinned people, non-native people. Their heads looked like they were upside down, but all it was they lost their hair on top, and they still had their beards and their mustache. So it made it look like their heads were upside down, but it weren't. They just didn't have hair on top of their heads. The other vision that he saw was a white deer, but it was bigger than a deer, and it had spots. Do you guys know what that was? It was a horse. It was an Appaloosa. The Appaloosa was very important to the Nez Perce people. Prior to having the Appaloosa, a lot of the roaming, a lot of the migration that they had to do was by foot, even utilizing dogs. But after they got the horse, which was in probably the 1700s, They were able to roam further. They were able to go different places to trade, to hunt, to fish, to gather, to do all those kind of things. But that's one thing I need to clarify today is that Nez Perce people, they weren't stationary people. They moved from area to area, depending on the season, depending on their need, because we all know, hopefully we all know, there's a good time to go hunting and a bad time to go hunting. A good time to go fishing and a bad time to go fishing. There's only certain times of the year that roots and berries and vegetations and cultural medicines grew at that time. So hopefully we all know that. So that's one thing that the Nez Perce native Nimi'ipuu used to do, is migrate from area to area depending on the season. So we kind of get a picture of the history part of it. There's a Nez Perce chief from the Dreamer faith. His name was Tuhuhozu. One of the quotes that he's really famous for is about the land. His quote says, "The earth is part of my body. I belong to the land out of which I came. She is my mother." So you think about that. The earth is part of my body. I belong to the land out of which I came. She is my mother. The native people and the Nez Perce people, we relied off the land. We survived off the land. What we did to the earth, what we did to the land, we also were doing to ourselves. Remember from the beginning, I said one thing that was passed on from generation to generation was that we were taught and raised to respect all people and all things. Only what you take, only what you need. Take what you need and nothing more. So remember that. But in 1805, Lewis and Clark, they made it to the Weap, the Pierce area. At that time, when they arrived there, the Nez Perce, they didn't know who they were. They didn't know what to expect. They heard about this people coming, but they didn't know what to do. We all know there was a native person, a native woman with Lewis and Clark. Do you guys know what her name was? Sacagawea. Did you guys hear about another person, a famous person, according to the Nez Perce, well known according to the Nez Perce, that helped save them? Do you guys know what her name was? Yep, Waxcáus. She was the lady that really saved Lewis and Clark, that saved Sacagawea. Sacagawea belonged to an enemy tribe of the Nez Perce. So what Waxcáus does, what that means, her name means is return from being captured or return from being far away. Waxcáus was captured by the Blackfeet, and she was traded from the Blackfeet to some French fur traders. But she eventually made her way back to the Nez Perce after several years. And she was, at that time, she was sick, she was ill. And the Nez Perce people, they didn't know what to do at the time. They didn't know if they were to fight them, to fend them off, or what they were supposed to do. But it was Waxcáus that said, no, they're nice people. They were nice to me. So instead of killing them, instead of fending them off or chasing them away, the Nez Perce accepted them. They took them in. See, we all hear about the 1855 treaty that set up the boundaries of the Nez Perce reservation. But really, the treaty that they had with Lewis and Clark was a friendship treaty. In that, what they did is they exchanged gifts. They exchanged material things, saying that from here on out, we're going to be friends, we're going to be respectful. So at that time, when Lewis Clark first came upon the Nez Perce, they provided for them. They nurtured them. They took care of them. They didn't only show them where to go. They didn't only point in the direction of the Columbia River and the Pacific Ocean. They actually took them all the way to the Columbia River to Celilo Falls. See, that kind of goes against our history and against our books and the things that we're taught and raised with as Native Americans, being savages, being killers, being murderers, and all that kind of stuff. But to make things right, to clarify our history, the Nez Perce, the Nimi'ipuu, and Native people, they weren't killers. They weren't savages. They didn't kill people just to kill people. So that was one example of the Nez Perce showing Lewis and Clark how to live, how to connect with each other. See, I stand up here today and I see some other native people out in the crowd today, but I'm a little bit darker than you. And that's all right that I'm a little bit darker. We're all different. It doesn't matter what color skin we have. We're on this earth together. It's not about the Nez Perce. It's not about the Nimi'ipuu. It's about human beings. We're all human. Maybe we look different, but that's okay to be different. Maybe we think different, but that's okay. After Lewis and Clark came here, one of the things that they shared with the Nez Perce was the good book. You guys know what the good book is? The Bible. The good book was the Bible. They shared the Bible with old Chief Joseph, some of the other bands, some of the other chiefs, and they really liked it. So as they showed Lewis and Clark to the Pacific Ocean and to the Columbia River, and now on their return back in 1806, they also provided for them. They provided horses, they provided clothes, food, and all that other kind of stuff they needed to make it back over the Bitterroot Mountains. In 1831, the Nez Perce, Chief Joseph and some of the other chiefs, they were still curious and they wondered about the good book. In 1831, they sent 4 warriors back to St. Louis to find Lewis and Clark, to find out more about the good book. On their way to St. Louis, 2 warriors died. One warrior died while they were there, and one warrior was killed at the mouth of Salmon River by the Blackfeet. So the Nez Perce, they were interested in the good book. But in 1835, since 2 of the warriors made it there, they let them know what they were looking for. The United States government, they sent missionaries here. So in 1835, there was missionaries set up in Lapwing, in Walla Walla, and the surrounding areas to help teach the Nez Perce Native Americans about religion. But remember what I said from the beginning is that Nez Perce and Native Americans, they weren't religious people, they were spiritual people. There's a difference. But how these missionaries were treating the Nez Perce was totally different from what was being taught or what was said in the good book. The Nez Perce, they weren't allowed to speak their own language. They couldn't dress their traditional way. They had to cut their hair. They had to wear uniforms. They couldn't practice their religious ceremonies or their traditional ways. If they did, they were whipped. There's a tree down at Spalding, Idaho, where they were tied to. It's called the whipping tree. Just because they spoke their own language, they'd be tied to this tree and whipped. So after a while, after several years of this, the Nez Perce, they said, we don't want this anymore. We don't like this religion. What you speak is different from what the good book says. You treat our people with disrespect. You whip them, you spit on them. You're showing them bad things. Our people aren't like that. Our people were raised and taught to respect all people and all things. But after the missionaries, after the forced religion, our people had to go through boarding schools. At these boarding schools, our people, they were whipped, they were abused, they were spit upon. Some of them were even raped. So there was a lot of bad things that happened to our people with the forced religion, with the treaty wars, with the treaties, the loss of the land, the loss of the natural resources, loss of our people. Today, some of the things that we're faced with, some of the things that hinder our people today are drugs, alcohol, domestic violence, teen pregnancy, all these other kind of things that hinder our people. But not only my people, they hinder your people. See, this isn't part of our culture. This isn't part of our ways, but it's something that we picked up. We lost thousands and millions of acres of land because some of our people, they started drinking. They liked it. And some of the non-native people, they'd buy land cheap from our people because they wanted more alcohol. So today, some of the things that we're faced with, like I said, are the drugs, or the alcohol, domestic violence, teen pregnancy, disrespect. But one thing I want to share with you guys today and let you know is that we have survived these things. We survived the treaty wars. We survived the loss of land. We survived being placed on reservations, the forced religion, the boarding schools. We survived it. We're surviving drugs and alcohol, domestic violence. But we're not only surviving it, we're overcoming it. Our people are survivors, we're overcomers, but more important than that, we're conquerors. Not only Native people, but you in here. Some of you in here have been hindered by the same things. Maybe not you specifically, but maybe your parents, your grandparents, your older brothers, your older sisters. And I want each and every one of you in here to know today that you're special. All of you are special. Every one of you in here is unique. You have something to provide for this world, for this nation, for your community, for your neighborhood, for your family. So never get down on yourself. Always pick yourself up. Always feel good about who you are. We all make mistakes. We make bad choices. We make bad decisions. But pick yourself up. Keep going. Don't ever get down on yourself. Don't ever quit. Don't ever give up. As long as you do everything that you can, that's all anybody could expect of you. But before I end today, I want to share a song with you, an honor song for you, because it's an honor and privilege for me to be here. And I thank you for being here. I thank your teachers, your school district, your superintendent for allowing you to be here. Today is an educational experience, not only for you, but also for me. I know there's a lot of people that we haven't really seen eye to eye from the beginning. We always had our divisions, our separations, our own thoughts. But today, I hope we start taking down those walls. I hope we start taking down those divisions, those bad feelings, those pains and those hurts that our people have felt for hundreds of years. So today, in that process, it's part of the healing process, not only for me, but some of you. I'm going to sing an honor song for you. As I sing this song, I want you guys to remember who you are, where you came from, and where you're going. I want each and every one of you to do the best that you can from here on out. Don't take things for granted. Respect your mom, your dad, your brothers, your sisters, your teachers, your classmates. Because we're all here together. And that's what's the most important thing, is that we're people. We're human beings. We need to do things the right way for the right reason. But today, as I sing this song, I want you guys to close your eyes. I want you to think about your lives. I want you to think about what you're doing, where you're at, and where you're going, because we all have a plan. But as I sing this song, I want you guys to please close your eyes and just think about those things I talked about.
All right, and we'd like to thank you very much. If you please join me in one more round of applause to thank Mr. Green for all that he shared with us today. Great. So did you guys enjoy yourselves? You having fun so far? You know what, I don't know about you, but next is my favorite time of the day. You know what time it is for next? Yeah, that's my favorite time. So what we're going to be doing now is I think you'll be walking back over to the front about where the buses dropped you off, and that's where they'll pick you up and bring you to your lunch spots. Okay? So if you